And so what's happening here is that you've got even locals are not able to avoid this crime rate. So think about that. If this is happening to locals, I mean, what does that tell you? Hey everybody, welcome to our channel, Retire Earlier and Better, where we talk about all things relating to retire earlier, whether it's at home or abroad. So today, yes, we have another horrific story. I'm sorry about that, but I bring these to you for a reason. As you know, some of you longtime followers, we just need to know these things are happening, because a lot of times these stories come up and they get buried. Sure, they come up when they first happen and then they just get swept away. We've made quite a few of these types of videos, of expat crime videos, let's call them. And what we're trying to do is, and we are doing it, we're actually specifically addressing specific segments of the population, so that we're not leaving anybody out. And so, you have a variety of videos that you're welcome to go through our video library and check them out, because all segments of the population are covered, whether it's solo female traveler or retired mature couple or young people, whatever, everything. Different races, different genders, everything. We're covering it all. So we're not just the same thing over and over. All right, so that's why today we're bringing you a group of 13 young people that just all they wanted to do was go up to the lake, go swimming, and have a good time. And what's wrong with that, right? And so in line with what we say within our videos, to say that there isn't a specific MO that you can follow to say, well, this is the way to stay away from crime. Do it this way or do it that way. And a lot of times you will see people in the comments will say, like on a particular video, say, the solo female traveler, they'll come in there and say, well, just travel two of you together, or some people say, oh, just travel in a group, and all that. It's not that they're bad ideas, it's just that, as you will see in our videos, it really is not a panacea, and there's a reason for that. All right, so what happened? This is in Panama. And, again, these are people going out from Panama City up into the mountains 50 miles away, just going to go have a good time. Is it an area that's infested with crime normally? Not necessarily. Could you have said, well, don't go in that area, there's a lot of crime there? No, to the contrary. You would have said, well, this is normally a quiet area, so don't worry about it. But here's the thing. There isn't necessarily safety in numbers. Like, for example, solo female traveler. Well, you add another solo female traveler, well, you're still solo female traveler. Yeah, okay, there's two of you, but it's solo female traveler, okay? You're not any stronger, two solo female travelers. These people were all young people. They were all teenagers, 17, and hey, they weren't even all females. They were about half, 50-50, 4 women and 3 men, aged 17 to 22. By all accounts, a person would have said, well, there's 13 of you, come on, what's going to happen, right? But remember, one guy with a gun can hold down, and this was 2 guys with the gun, 2 guys with 2 guns, can hold down an awful lot of young people without any self-defense. So they had all been shot in the head, so they were all pretty much executed. It's just a shame to have 13 youngsters like this. And here's another aspect to this video. Sometimes we want to be able to say that, well, if the locals do it, then it's okay, it's safe. In this case, all of these teenagers were all locals. What is it that went wrong? I mean, these people should have known, right? They should have understood that something like this could happen, or they weren't prepared. Somebody sent out a bunch of teenagers out into the woods where, yes, crimes have happened before. It's not like, when you read these articles, they try to make it sound like, well, it's normally a tranquil area. Yeah, but 2 women were killed 5 years ago. Well, it's normally a tranquil area until it's not. Okay, so was anybody armed? Was there any police escort? Was there anything at all that could have prevented it? Not the way that this was done. And this is why we made this video, to show you that even if you go in a group, if one of you normally would be considered vulnerable, then just adding to it isn't going to make it necessarily any less vulnerable. Does that make sense to you? Well, whether you are, you're ready to reason that out, the fact is, this did happen, and it happened in exactly this way. 13 young people, 7 of them were murdered and 6 of them escaped. So you can't really trust what you read either. I mean, you can't really exactly know exactly what. A lot of times people read these articles and they want to speculate, oh, well, this, well, that, well, this, well, that. The facts are what they are, though. They're indisputable. 13 young people went only 50 miles away from the big city of Panama City in Panama. And here's the thing, right? When you read these articles, you've got to read them with a skeptical, with a grain of salt. They'll say things like, for example, in this article, they said, trying to minimize crime in Panama, and you can see it because they said, well, Panama has had 40 more murders since 2018 per year, up to almost 500. But get this, they're lower than in Colombia, right? Excuse me, Colombia has 10 times the population. This did not mention figures on a percent basis per population. It mentioned cold hard numbers. I mean, how misleading is that? I'm sure you guys would see through this, but I'm just trying to help those that kind of take a cursory look at these kinds of articles and kind of take at face value what is said in these articles. One of the things that I learned as a very young businessman in my 20s back in the day was, and this is relevant, listen to this. I was told, and back then we were just coming out of the mail order era, the era where everybody getting in the mail order was becoming millionaires. There was still a lot of literature around giving you hints on how to make it mail order. And one of the things was that you can tell people things and you can talk about things, but if you put it in writing, if you put it on black and white in writing, people will believe it. Isn't that a shocker? So that's what we're dealing with here, folks. When you read these articles and they're telling you, but yeah, Panama still has less crime on a numbers basis than its southern neighbor Colombia, which has, they didn't mention, 11 times more population, 51 million compared to 4-point-something million in Panama. And then it says Panama does have a little more crime than Costa Rica, but get this, even though Costa Rica is in Central America and is similar, Costa Rica still has a little bit more population than Panama. So Panama crime compared to Costa Rica is higher than Costa Rica. And so the second half of this article kind of does a whitewash of crime in Panama and is attempting to minimize how much crime is there really in Panama, and making these silly comparisons that are really nonsensical and inappropriate. And so what's happening here is that you've got even locals are not able to avoid this crime rate. So think about that. If this is happening to locals, what does that tell you? Not even the locals don't seem to be able to stay out of this kind of crime, and especially when they do things like sending out a crowd of 17-year-olds to 22-year-olds. Whether it's 1 or 2 of them or 13 of them, they're still 17-year-olds to 22-year-olds. And they are unarmed and unable to protect themselves against any attacker or attackers with a firearm. All right, so somebody made a mistaken judgment, and we offer you these videos so that you can be encouraged to take proper action and understand the full extent of what you're actually dealing with. So we thank you for coming to our channel. Leave us a comment below. They say that if you subscribe and click the notification bell, you'll know when we get videos. We don't know how true that is, but you can try it out for yourself and let us know how it works. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.